Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall, Psychic, all the way from the Gold Coast. I hope you've had an absolutely fantastic start to the new year. I mean, what is 2022 going to bring for all of us? A lot of peace and a lot of happiness, I believe. And I'm hoping that's going to be true for each and every one of us. I mean, we've had such a difficult couple of years. It'd be nice now to see things turn around and things become a little bit easier, that we can sort of start to make some plans and start to get excited about life again. Instead of constantly worrying about what's the next move with COVID-19, it'd be nice to see that in the rear vision mirror. We can always live in hope, and I am the eternal optimist, and I do believe it will come to an end one day. Let's hope it's sooner rather than later. So this week, the Simply Tarot card of the week is the Wheel of Fortune. Now, the Wheel of Fortune is one of these amazing cards that I think always puts a smile on everybody's dial. It's elevation in money. It can mean an overseas trip if you're fortunate enough to be able to be in a country where you can take an overseas trip. It can also be completion phases. Now, with that, I mean things coming to an end, things that we might have thought for a while now that we've been struggling with, things that we've been trying to bring to a completion. And I think there's many of us during this last couple of years that have had things like that that have been on the back burner, that we've been trying to work through, that we've been trying to bring to a completion so that we can move forward. Well, now's the opportunity for that. We will be able to move forward. We will be able to take things to the next level and be able to say to ourselves, this is the time now where we can start to move forward in our lives. And this is a very exciting, I feel, start to the new year, considering we've had such a difficult couple of years around the globe. To have a positive, very high major arcana card come out like that very early in the year, to me is a good sign that we are finally on the right track. You know, it may not mean we're all going to have $1 million in the bank by the end of the year, but it means that we can start to get our lives back on track again, which I think is very, very important. Now, this week, astrologically, as every week I seem to be saying lately, that we have a very, very big week astrologically. And for those of you that have just joined us for the very first time on the show, welcome. We have some amazing shows around this network over the next few days. But my show is about education. It's about helping people understand some of the things that maybe they didn't quite understand before they've tuned in. And I like to bring in an astrology segment into the show because I feel that we all need to have some guidance at where our next week's going and why we might be feeling a certain way, why we might be feeling uncomfortable or excited, or that makes sense to me. It makes a lot of sense listening to what you've got to say with the planetary configuration. So it's all about education for me. I think education and information gives us a head start in many areas of our life. The more information that we have, the more informed we are, the better choices and decisions that we can make in our lives. So I don't break down the 12 star signs. What I do is give an overview of where the planets are transiting around the zodiac for the next 7 days in a little brief rundown of how this may affect you personally. And it doesn't matter what your star sign is. So we've got Venus holding hands or conjunct the sun in Capricorn. So when we've got Venus, the planet of love and affection, sitting here holding hands or conjunct the sun, it just means that we're looking to bring some positive, bright, happy things into our lives at the moment. It doesn't necessarily mean all of us are going to run out there and find a new love affair, but we might rekindle our love for something that we do or people that we're around. You know, you may have a hobby that you haven't been able to get to recently because life's got in the road. Well, this might be the time to get your paintbrushes out or whatever your hobby may be and start to bring that sort of loving energy, you know, put a little bit of passion back into your life. For many people, it's, you know, the passion of starting the new year where, you know, you've got so many things on the go and so many things that you hope to achieve and you've set your intentions or your New Year's resolutions and we're all fired up and ready to go and we're putting a lot of energy into those and that's great. So the sun will remain in Capricorn until about the 22nd of this month. So he's nearing the end of his time in Capricorn, only got approximately another 11 days. So don't waste the Capricorn energy. It's a time where we can get our lives in order. It's when we can set our intentions, we can start planning, we can look at our finances, we can look at hopefully having a little vague map of where we hope to be going for 2022. So that's what the Capricorn energy is about, is looking at anything official in our lives, and let's bring a sprinkle of love into that. We also have the sun in Capricorn holding hands or conjunct Pluto. Now, Pluto's the planet of transformation. Pluto's been sitting here in Capricorn since 2008. We'll be here until 2024. So as you can appreciate, it's a very, very long transit of Pluto. Pluto's role's been to ask each and every one of us to completely transform our lives. Now, whether that means that we've had to get rid of things that no longer serve us anymore, or whether it's been a matter of sort of sifting through our finances or working through our lives, in every single way, there's been some part of our lives we've had to transform. On a much higher level, Pluto in Capricorn is asking governments, it's asking world affairs, it's asking people in prominent positions to try and find some better solutions to the problems that trouble your part of the world. Now, for many people, that seems like governments have just done nothing but run around and dictate to us in the last few years, telling us to do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. And yes, it may feel like that, but we've also got to remember we voted these people in. We voted them in with hopefully the confidence that they would deliver the outcomes that we as a community and a society were aiming for. Now, nobody's perfect, nobody gets everything right, and nobody's going to agree with everything. But overall, I think governments around the world have probably had a very tough time, and particularly in these last few years, where things have been so unpredictable. So I suppose we've got to cut them a little bit of slack, maybe a tiny bit, and say, well, they've all been doing probably the best job they could do in unprecedented circumstances. So it's certainly the time where I think each and every one of us should be looking at, is there something in our lives that we haven't completed? Is there something that we need to revamp, rejig, remove, start afresh, do something different, or just reorganise ourselves? Now, I know for many people in this last couple of years, it's been about looking at work-life balance. Because we were forced into a situation where we had to make changes, we started to realise how much time we were investing in areas of our lives that were no longer productive or fruitful or taking us in the direction that we wanted to go. So that's been a positive that's come out of COVID. And for many people, they're starting to find that they've been able to rearrange their work life, that they have more personal time for themselves and their family, which is not a bad thing. And other people have realised that, you know, the be-all and end-all of chasing an almighty huge income isn't the answer either, that, you know, the simpler things in life is more what we're aiming for. So whatever it is that Pluto's been asking you to transform, make sure that you start to get it right. You get it on the road to success in this next couple of years, because he's nearing the end of his transit. The last 2 years, in some cases, may seem like the hardest. And that's only if you haven't been listening and haven't been making the changes along the way. For most of us, I think we've been doing that organically, so we won't really find it's going to be that difficult as Pluto nears the end of his transit in Capricorn. Now, we also have the planet of Mercury, the planet of communication, is sitting in Aquarius, holding hands with the planet Saturn. So Mercury is the planet of communication. It gives us our sparkle. It's all forms of communication, whether it's cell phones, emails, text messages, conversations, snail mail, fax machines, you name it, any form of communication that you can think of. And that includes songwriting, because a lot of people find that by writing down their emotions or writing down their feelings, that's their easiest way of communication. It's not always about opening your mouth and letting the words tumble out. So be aware of that. Now, with Mercury holding hands or conjunct Saturn in Aquarius, Mercury is the planet of communication and bright ideas or new ideas. When he's holding hands with Saturn, Saturn's the planet of the disciplinarian or the taskmaster or the father figure. So, we're asking Mercury to come out with these brilliant ideas or come out with different ways of thinking. But what Saturn's role here is going to be is to just sort of level that out, to sort of structure it and put it into a package that other people will accept or understand or consider that, yes, that's worthy of giving it some thought. So it's not allowing Mercury to run roughshod over people or to run willy-nilly and come up with these light bulb moments that are absolutely ridiculous and have no bearing on anything. Saturn's role is to sort of try and help package that in a palatable, presentable way so that we can gain the most out of maybe the ideas or the new forms of communication that are coming through. And this is very exciting because I think that we do need to find some different ways of communicating. I mean, a lot of people around the world that I speak with often are telling me that they're just tuning out now. Particularly governments and people in positions of authority have got to find ways to repackage their message. We're all tired. We're all sick of hearing the same thing or the fear mongering, or, if you don't do this, you can't do that. And it's sort of like everybody's just tuning out from that. So, politicians and world leaders are going to have to find some creative new ways to get us to listen. So this might be very well where Mercury conjunct Saturn can help them on a level that they never really thought about before, that maybe they've got to change their approaches. Yes, it might be the same message, but find a fresh new way of packaging it and presenting it to the masses, and then maybe you'll get people to listen. Maybe it's not about dictating to people and telling them what they should do. Maybe make some suggestions, or, brand it in a different way that, you're giving the people back their own power and their own choices, that they then will do what you believe is necessary, because you're empowering them to make choices and decisions for themselves, and they want to make the best decision to get the best outcomes for them and their family and the people that are closest to them. Just a thought. So we also have Jupiter, the planet of expansion opportunity, has just moved into Pisces. Now, Jupiter will sit there for 12 months. Jupiter is the planet of opportunity. I love Jupiter because Jupiter rules my sign. I'm a Sagittarian. And when, Jupiter comes back into Sag once every 12 years, I really do the happy dance, because I feel elated that, things are going to sort of spring up out of nowhere. So particularly for Pisceans, this next 12 months is an opportunity that you shouldn't waste it. It's a time when you can really come into your own. If you've been trying to get a project off the ground, now is the perfect time. If you've been trying to change your job or go into a different career path, now is the perfect time. It's a time to really be true to yourself. And in the early stages of astrology, they used to believe that Jupiter co-ruled Pisces. So Jupiter really feels at home here in Pisces, almost as comfortable as he does when he's sitting in Sag. So please don't waste this. For a lot of Piscean people, they might find their creative juices are going to start to flow again, things that haven't flowed or happened for a long time. And that's a really good thing, because they've been sort of feeling a little bit flat for a while there, that sort of, I think they became a little bit more overwhelmed than any other sign of the zodiac with all the changes that came about in the world with COVID. It was sort of like it became a little bit much for them to handle. And, I know it did for just about everybody in every, and we all had different ways of handling it. But the messages that I was getting from a lot of Piscean people, it was like they were flat. They weren't depressed, they weren't upset, but there was just nothing sparking in them. There was no creativity sort of starting to spark out of having so much time on their hands. So now I think they're going to find that creativity is going to start to sparkle again. And won't that be amazing? Because Piscean people, in my opinion, are very fortunate because they have the power and the energy of all the other 11 signs that come in. So that makes them very powerful, very enlightened souls. And I don't agree with the two fish chasing its tail, that they never know where they're going. I find them very different to that. I find them very creative, very wise people. And if you really take the time to get to know a Piscean, you can learn an awful lot, because they have some magical different ways of looking at things. They have the ability to look at a situation and go out into the Neptunian fog and look at it in maybe 4 or 5 different ways and bring back all these different scenarios. So they've got all different potential outcomes of the same situation, where most of us mere mortals are lucky if we can find one solution, let alone 2. So it's always good to have a Pisces as a good friend in your back pocket. So we also have their ruling planet Neptune is going through the last stages of being in Pisces now. Still will be there for a little while. So they've had a lot of things to contend with, Pisceans, over the last few years, and particularly with Neptune going through their sign, it was like they were walking around in a fog or in a tunnel with a fog for quite some time. So the tunnel's starting to open up and starting to expand and have light coming into it, which is very, very exciting for Pisceans, that things are going to be able to become a lot easier for them. So finally, we're going to talk about the planet Uranus. Now, Uranus is like the planet of the unusual, the unexpected. I always affectionately call it like the bolt of lightning. It's like where you find Uranus in a chart, or where you find Uranus doing a dance around the zodiac, expect the unexpected, because it is like that bolt of lightning striking the ground. Now, Uranus at the moment, and has been for some time now, sitting in the planet of Taurus. Now, Uranus doesn't necessarily feel particularly comfortable here in Taurus. Now, the reasons why is Uranus, as I said, likes to be spontaneous, likes to be fast, likes to be a little bit of a shock treatment, sometimes likes to shock people out of their comfortable existence and sort of say, well, come on, let's shake things up, let's get some action in your life. And the sign of Taurus is very logical, practical, down to earth, doesn't particularly like surprises, likes to take things at their own sweet time, which is usually slow. They have a very fond love of money and possessions, but they don't necessarily like to share. And that means even with their loved ones, they like to keep what they've got to themselves. What is mine, and what's yours is mine, is something that Taurians tend to look at. So it's sort of almost like Uranus feels very uncomfortable here sitting in Taurus. And he has done. But I think what Uranus has brought to the Taurian energy is, and to Taurus people in general, is he's taught them they have to be flexible. That it's taught them that they can't just sort of be so fixed and rigid in their thinking, that sometimes something will come along and like a bolt of lightning strike them and say, hang on a minute, you're looking at this in the wrong way. You've got to change direction. Now, that would be very uncomfortable for them, because when they start to feel as if they're being threatened or questioned in any way, they become more determined, more dogged, more snappy, more determined to sort of see things through to their way, even if they know that they're wrong, because that's the stand that they took, and they're not going to let anybody else tell them any different. So it's been an interesting time to watch some of the famous people around the world that are Taurians and see how they've been handling pressure. So it's interesting time for Tauruses. They've still got, quite a few years yet of Uranus going through Taurus, so I wish them the best of luck. And finally, with Uranus, it's holding hands or conjunct the moon. So it could be a little bit of a tricky time for all of us with our emotions over the next 12 to 15 hours, where, one part of us wants to sort of leap out of our skin and do something daring and different, and the other part of us is saying, now, hang on a minute, how's this going to affect me? Why don't we just slow down and just let our emotions calm down, and tomorrow's another day and we'll have another look at it then. So for whichever way you handle that conjunction, which is only going to be for the next 15 hours or so, just enjoy it. Don't get too caught up in what's right and what's wrong. It might be right this minute, and in an hour's time you'll feel completely differently. So try and be a little bit flexible. We're going to talk with Jennifer in Chatham in Ontario. Are you there, Jennifer?
Yes, I'm here.
Do you have a question I can work with, please, Jennifer?
Well, I'm kind of in the midst of trying to change my life, my work, whatever that I was planning on doing, just because COVID has kind of made things a little bit difficult.
Right.
And I feel like I'm a natural healer, so I'm kind of looking at, moving forward in the natural healing or life coaching, things like that. I'm just not even sure, though. I feel like I chase my tail, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense, Jennifer. And look, you're not the first person to feel sort of uncomfortable since COVID started, that, everybody was sort of on their nice little path, and then bang, all of a sudden we had this worldwide pandemic that took us all by surprise. So I'm not surprised that you're sort of questioning things. It's an interesting topic that you want to get into, or an interesting area of work that you want to get into as being a healer. Now, look, I'm not disputing the fact that you feel that you're a natural born healer, and you probably are. That's probably something you've done in past lives. And this is why it feels so natural and comfortable to you. The problem with that is it's very, very difficult in the world that we live in now to be able to break into an industry like that and to make a good income out of it. It's sort of one of those things that's so spasmodic that you wonder why you go into that sort of industry if you're constantly sort of trying to chase an income. Now, I think, I'm not trying to prevent you from following your dream, but what I'm going to suggest to you is maybe let's not put all our eggs in one basket. Maybe we need to get you into a day job that you feel comfortable with, that, you've got an income coming in that pays and supports your lifestyle, and then look at the healing side of things as being sort of like a secondary income. Not so much a hobby, but something that we do as a parallel income, something that then you can focus your energies on without having to be concerned about how you're going to pay this month's bills. And I think if you do that, I think you'll start to find the healing side of things will start to grow. It will start to develop in the way that it's meant to. I'm not being shown that you're going into a healing sort of situation in what I would consider the norm. It's not like, okay, you're going to take up a Reiki course and do Reiki and massages, and that sort of is nearly almost mainstream today. It's not quite like that. I'm seeing things that people would say, oh, where'd you get that one from? Or I've never heard of that one. It's like you're going into sort of some unusual areas of healing. And to me, what you're going to be focusing on is not just the physical, not just the emotional, and not just the mind. It's going to be a combination of all of the above. And it's like almost like you're taking somebody and you're looking at them on a physical level, and it's like you're able to put yourself into them emotionally and understand the triggers or the reasons why they've got pain or blockages or whatever the case may be in their lives. And then you're going to devise sort of like a plan of attack for them, something that's like an individual plan for them to sort of follow. So in part of that, I think, is going to bring in sort of nutrition or changing their way of thinking, or, you know, little exercises or little things. It's not going to be one size fits all. So I think you're going to have many strings to your bow that we're going to put under this heading of healing, Debbie, that, Jennifer, I beg your pardon, that is not necessarily going to be, we can put a label on it. And I feel with this sort of work, you wouldn't be able to do a lot of it because it would be very, very draining on you as a person. So it's maybe not something that you could end up doing full time anyway, because you wouldn't be able to sort of put up enough protections or barriers to prevent other people from either taking your energy or you expending too much energy in the time that you're doing the consultation, if that makes sense to you, Jennifer.
Yes. Yes, it does. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, it's not like going to a medical doctor where you go and you've got your 10 minutes, you tell them your ailments and they write you out a prescription for some medication or some treatment. What you're going to be doing is you're working on a much deeper level, like a soul level, on an energetic level. And that's why I'm suggesting that I don't think you'd be able to do that full time, because I think it would take too much out of you. So I think the eventual balance will be that you'll probably work part-time, you know, 2, 3, 4 days a week, and then devote another day or two a week to sort of this beautiful sort of work that you're going to be doing on a healing level. But I do think that the changes are coming with that fairly soon, but I feel it's something that you're going to take your time in going into. Anyway, that's where we've got to leave Jennifer now in Ontario. We're now going to be talking with Deb in Wabash in Indiana. Are you there, Deb?
Yes, I am.
Do you have a question I can work with, please, Deb?
Pardon?
Do you have a question you'd like me to answer for you, sweetie?
Oh, I do, yes. I wonder if you've seen any changes in my home, my living area.
Okay, so in the home that you're residing in, you want to know if there's going to be any changes. Okay,
Yeah.
The first thing that they're showing
Do you see us moving
is
or
definitely...
anything? I'm sorry.
Yeah, go on, sweetie.
I said, if you see us moving or anything, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I'll speak up a little bit. It's interesting because the first thing that they were showing me when you started talking about your home, Debbie, is the fact that you've got a lot of endings, changes and transformations coming up. So yes, I do feel that it's you that's tuning into what the universe is trying to share with you, that it's ready, they're ready for you to make some changes. They're ready for you to explore and step outside the box. So I think that that's really important, that you're tuning into that, you're feeling that, you're starting to feel the winds of change are blowing through the home, and you're thinking, well, does it mean that we just rearrange the furniture, we hang some new drapes, or is it time for us to move? I think, you know, I'm not necessarily saying that you can't do some superficial changes and that might calm everything down for a little while. But I feel the end result is, and particularly after June this year, is that you will make a conscious decision to be looking to make a major move. And I don't know that you're going to stay in the area that you're in. I felt it was going to be what I would term as a relocation move. So it's like, let's just let the universe show us the signposts of where you need to be going and what you need to be doing, but be aware that it may be very different to how you feel or where you're sitting at the moment, looking out the window and thinking, oh, well, that could be nice or this could be nice. I feel that there's some massive changes coming up. So would it be fair to say that there could potentially be a relocation because of a job?
Not a job, but I have been thinking very strongly on relocating.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, because they showed me the relocation. To me, to stay where you are now and just move a couple of streets away or a mile down the road wouldn't necessarily bring any relief to what you're feeling. Do you know what I mean? It'd be like putting a Band-Aid on a gaping hole. And, you know, it'd fix the problem for a very short time, and then we'd be back to the same position in 6 months or 12 months. So let's give this a lot of thought. I think you're going to have some very strong dreams, Deb, and I want you to start taking notice of them, even if they don't make any sense. When you get up, write them down, write down the headlines of what the dream was, how you felt, and then, you know, the answers might come out of that over the next few weeks of what this obscure dream actually meant. Because sometimes when our spirit guides are trying to help us make choices and decisions in their lives, they can't give it to us as in, this is what you do, follow the ABC. They've got to give it to us in a cryptic way that we still are in control of our own lives and we're the ones that make the choices and the decisions. But wherever you've been thinking of relocating to, is that going back to somewhere that's familiar?
No, somewhere totally new.
Okay, but why am I seeing a feeling of familiarity, or I feel like I'm at home? Is that how you felt about this location?
Probably because vacation destination we've been at, you know, along the coast, oceans.
Okay, and every time you've gone there, you felt like this is home. Well, maybe you lived there in a past life. That's not uncommon. You know, we don't always have to go back to the place that we were born in to say, this feels like home, this is my home. Because that's the feeling I'm looking for with the relocation. It has to feel like home. It has to feel familiar. It has to feel like this is where my soul belongs. And if you do that, if you follow that, you won't go wrong. Anyway, Deb, that's where we've got to leave it. We've come to the end of the show. It's really quick how the half-an-hour show goes very quickly, particularly when we're having so much fun talking to people around the world. And, you know, for many of us, there's going to be some changes in direction or moves in the coming 12 months. So just, you know, take your time, allow things to really develop properly so that you know exactly what it is that you want to achieve in this coming 12 months. You know, for many of us, there will be a change of location or changes of jobs or whatever. And, you know, and it's an exciting time. You know, there's, as we spoke about at the beginning of the show, elevation in money and, you know, some completion phases in our lives. And I think there's going to be many of us that are going to be experiencing that in this coming 12 months. As each week, I leave you with a song that I think might sort of help you sort of, you know, it might be something you've never thought about listening to before. But this week, I'd like to leave you with the song of Neil Diamond. And I don't think there's too many people around the world that don't know Neil Diamond, but this particular song really captured my attention this year. And it's a very old one, I Am, I Said. So until next week, enjoy Neil Diamond. Bye for now.